Come on.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine Podcast. We're hosted on Anchor.fm, and we're streamed worldwide on all the platforms that you use to listen to your favorites. My name is Nick. I've got my two co-hosts back with me after a week away. Andrew and Tristan are here, but in addition, we are very excited to have the two hosts of the famous Dinner with Racers podcast. They're here with us. We've got champion driver Ryan Eversley and champion marketing and PR man Sean Heckman both on the line. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Hi.
We appreciate your enthusiasm.
Did I hear the smallest and farthest away air horn ever?
I did.
I heard an air horn sound effect.
Do you have questions? Nick, go.
All right. There we go. I guess the number one question would be, Nick, you did forget to mention not only a podcast, a show on Amazon as well.
I'm not doing it justice. That is correct.
Yeah,
recently,
I thought you were about to say you weren't doing it. It's like, you're going to goddamn promote that show, for fuck's sake.
Respect their brand.
I'm not doing it.
This is our brand?
Yeah, respect the brand.
Yes, also found on Amazon Prime. Personally, I love the episode in the Jamaican Big Money Race episode. So far been my favorite.
Yeah, we were big fans of that one too.
So yeah, folks, find them on Amazon. I imagine you were. So we're going to get into it with these guys, ask some questions. But as we normally do on the Check Engine podcast, we'll open with some quick news tidbits in a segment we like to call Pace Laps. Andrew, there is one big elephant in the room that we need to talk about today.
I mean, I certainly need to, because it finally happened. Jim is gone. Jim Hackett is gone from Ford, and it's about time. I'm seeing like these sort of middling postmortems, like, oh, his legacy is mixed. It's like, no, his legacy can just be bad. He did a bad job. And that's it. He's gone. So I guess they have no choice but to try to improve from here.
Be careful with your wording saying Jim is gone, because they're replacing him with another Jim. So Jim Hackett is gone.
Yes.
Jim is dead. Long live the Jim.
Exactly.
Is their promotion of the predecessor who's taking over in October is like, don't worry, he's a real car guy. At least from what I've read. And I'm like, that's kind of the point, right?
Now, well, has this Jim, the next Jim, had dinner with a Harbaugh at all? Because that seemed to be really important in Hackett's promotion.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm looking it up right now.
No news on whether or not he likes milk and steak together. Well, that's fine.
TBD. Jim Farley is coming in, and yeah, they're like, don't worry, he's a true car guy. But like, Ryan, through your association with Honda and Acura, I'm sure you've talked to your share of bigwigs. Isn't being a car guy kind of a prerequisite anyway?
Not anymore. It used to be, but now you've got so many people that are more business related and business educated that they're bringing in. And then they hope that the engineers build the cars to be proper cars. And then there's always the debate between the bigwigs that are like, well, no, I have a number I need to hit. And you have engineers that are like, but I want this thing to drive like it's supposed to drive. And that's kind of the way that goes. But the one thing I know about Jim Farley, doesn't he race like a vintage original GT40?
Yes, I believe he does. I didn't see that specifically in the articles I was looking up.
So I would say that makes him more of a car guy than probably almost everybody on this podcast right now.
He does, in fact. Yeah, you're correct.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, let's hope so. Actually, on that note, Sean,
Yeah.
how do you think Ford looks? How do you think they've done with their branding? How do you think this SUV, promoting SUV only and also telling people that this is what they want, that was sort of championed as a milestone in Hackett's legacy, right? Like, oh, we're giving people what they want, even though they only get one thing. Is that a marketing success, being able to say that, or is that just talk?
Are you asking me to shit on a brand that one day could sponsor us?
I am asking for your analysis on their marketing.
It could actually help them improve if they need to.
So one of the contract agencies, here's a little inside talk for you, is a group called Campbell Marketing. And they have had some amazing people work for them, such as David Baltazar, Lachelle Laney. So I think people that work there at Campbell Marketing are phenomenal to work with. And I have nothing but great things to say about Campbell Marketing.
Fabulous.
Great
Next
answer.
question, go.
I love it.
You got to do the air horn.
It's on an app, and I'm too busy texting bitches. So I got to click over. There we go.
Please,
Are you goddamn happy now, Ryan? Is it your show?
There it is.
please keep us up to date on
It
the
is now.
responses from bitches.
I mean, you did it.
That's fair. Did you see how we pulled that little alpha move?
Yeah. See, you did it. You did it. Earn this.
All right, enough of our
any
show
other-
parts.
Any
Enough
other
of our show
sponsors
parts.
you want to make fun
Yeah,
of?
any
Are
other-
you going to talk about
any other
tire
brands we
companies
could
that are
destroy?
fantastic that
Yeah.
aren't Continental? What else are we going to do here? Jeez,
No.
nice.
This is real podcast hours here. We want
See this.
to know about
Are you about
your
to run?
podcast. We
Are you
want
going
to
to run a
talk about.
commercial from Shell next? Is that what you're going to do? Jeez. Go on.
No, go ahead,
Do you
Nick.
guys edit this?
Go ahead, me. How about you? You're in the process of asking the question.
Oh, no, I just wanted to kind of redirect us onto getting into the actual guests instead of us just, shitting on Ford and ruining the dinner with racer reputation.
We didn't say anything bad. I said nothing but good things about Campbell Marketing. I would like
That
to
is
be
super
clear
true.
about
And I told you the
Everyone-
one thing I know about Jim Farley is that he races a vintage GT40.
that. Yeah, which is a good thing.
Definitely.
That is true. So, okay, I'll start this off with a question for Sean.
Sure.
So,
You got 5 of them.
where did your involvement with motorsports begin? Because, like, Media Barons covers a wide array of things. So,
Right.
it talks about commercials and pilots and things like that. But then you have also got this motorsports PR marketing arm. What came first, I guess? Was it motorsports and then the rest, or the other way around?
Well, I come from a racing family. So like back in like late 50s, early 60s, my dad used to race late models on dirt. Or they were like modifieds. They were kind of in their own thing. So like he used to race quite a bit in North Carolina on dirt tracks. So for example, like when I started getting into racing, I was like second or third in my first race. And my dad, his name was Ralph. He once railed on me when I was proud of the fact that I got second or third, especially knowing that I had an old junk motor. And as he was pulling out of the driveway, he said, "It's not the guy with the best motor; it's the guy that refuses to lose." And that was some of the great quotes from guys like Ralph Earnhardt. So that always stuck with me, and so that's where I am today as far as being a racing guy.
Got it. So when you got involved with Media Barons, was your intention all along to be motorsports marketing, or was, I guess where did that come into the professional?
Well, one of my business models has always been to find out how to work harder than everyone else for less money.
Okay.
And so I was like, motorsports, that's where it should be. And that legacy has brought me here today. So, in the beautiful city of Los Angeles, I'm on the outskirts in Monterey Park, and with a staff of thousands, mainly stuffed animals. But the career path in racing it's a long story, but basically I came from racing and then kind of gave up. And went to college, was going to work in TV, and that's where I did work for several years. And then was fortunate enough about 15 years ago to sell a television show to a burgeoning HD network to do a thing about a car that was debuting at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. And that introduced me to kind of getting myself back into the sport and starting my own kind of group, which is basically what we are still. And we're millionaires.
Dripping with sarcasm, that last phrase.
Yes.
So, I mean, who was that first client of yours on the motorsports side that gave you that chance to break into it? And the reason I'm asking this, just quick background here, like I wanted to get involved in motorsports my entire childhood.
Right.
I still race club karts, on the weekends. Like I realized in college that Roger Penske wasn't knocking on my door anytime soon. I wasn't mechanically inclined. I thought, well, the business side of it is really important. So I went through marketing. I did internships at local racetracks. Tristan was involved with me going down to Indianapolis on a random resume delivery trip. Cool. To all the different race shops. And it was a struggle. There were a few people who reached out and gave me some great advice on things, but like there wasn't that one person who really like, here's where you need to go. Here's who you need to talk to. So who was that person for you?
That's a multi-pronged question. Where'd you intern, by the way? Or where'd you try?
So I interned at a local short track up here in Wisconsin, Slinger Speedway.
Slinger. Love Slinger.
Yeah, awesome. World's fastest quarter-mile oval.
Yeah, well, the banking is like 70 degrees.
Yes, you cannot walk up it. You need to crawl.
Yeah, have you ever been there in the middle of the snow in like March?
I have not been there in the middle of the snow in March.
Well, we have, so you're clearly not willing to sacrifice enough.
Not surprised
Ryan and I went to Slinger Speedway.
Thank you, Ryan.
When was it? Early mid-March that we were there?
Yeah, it was like the first week of March.
It was the first week of March. It was completely closed down, but they let us open the gates on our own, basically, and walk around in the freezing cold to get some footage for a video that we did. And it was so cold there that we literally had to take breaks from shooting so I could get in the car to feel my fingers again. Which not necessarily because I'm a wuss, I am, but literally so that I could feel the buttons on the camera to work.
Yeah,
that's literally our memory of Slinger.
Yeah, Slinger's got a long history with my family. My dad was on would help wrench on some cars up there. He was actually he ended his crewman life as a spotter for one of the super late model teams up there. So cool. It was fitting that I got to kind of cut my teeth, if you will, there. I ran like the pit tours and like hospitality type stuff. When we'd get Kyle Busch or a Matt Kenseth or somebody up there, I would kind of be there.
What was Kyle Busch like at that age?
Suitor person driving him around from autograph session to autograph session and stuff. So it was fun.
Cool. What was
you mentioned the banking being so high. The pace car driver told me once, like one of the local car dealerships would give us a new car to run as the pace car every year. And we had to get with the technicians because the first time out one year with this new pace car, it would go into the corners and the engine would shut off because it thought it was rolling over because it was banked so steep. So we had to go back to the dealership and have a technician unplug that fuse or reroute the wiring so the car wouldn't shut off on us twice a lap. So
that is amazing.
See, so you've lived your life. You're good. You don't need to work in racing.
Yeah, I got my taste of it.
That's literally all PR marketing people is walking people around the paddock and saying you worked with Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth. That's pretty much as we know older PR folks now who live from 20 years ago and still tell stories about walking Danny Sullivan around and stuff like that. So it's the same thing. You're fine. You're fine.
Well, I appreciate that, but Yeah. So like, who was it for you though? Like, who was that first client that gave you a break?
The first, it was Frank Williams. It wasn't Frank. The key to my success in racing, and I do say success because again, I am a millionaire. I have an office in Monterey Park, California.
Yeah, let's be real.
The key to success is have one distinguishable talent that everyone can take advantage of. If you have that, you're gonna be fine. If you can look somebody in the eye and they can look at you back and go, how can I exploit the shit out of this 24-year-old? Then you're gonna make it. So how old are you guys now?
It's too late.
Yeah, it's too late. Too old.
And Nick, you're not nearly exploitable enough.
You're just going to have to be satisfied with having a life where you're paying your bills comfortably and probably are working on retirement and probably have a life outside of this goddamn nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. Wait,
Yeah,
Tristan,
you're fine.
Tristan, did you just say Nick doesn't even have one exploitable talent?
Oh.
No, I just said he's not. I said he's not exploitable enough.
Exactly. He's like, he doesn't even have the talent.
He's got something, but it's not really talent.
It's not exploitable. I've said this multiple times on here. I work with assholes.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually that's a usable feature in racing.
Yeah.
Working with assholes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've made
In
a
fact,
whole
they can
show
put
out
up
of
with
it.
us. More or less, so have we actually, but far smaller.
Cool.
Stop.
Next question.
These guys have the real show, the real deal. They have reached the heady heights.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Silence.
Actually, I would like to ask about the show and the podcast and where you view your current trajectory. Like, do you think that it's up from here? Do you think it's even from here? Do you think you've achieved what you wanted?
Well, we're trying to win an Emmy.
Obviously.
That's awesome.
So when we get our Emmy, then we'll be done. I believe the nominations have already come out. I did not see us listed. So we still have a
Is
ways
there
to
anybody
go.
we can call on your behalf?
Yeah. At Emmys.com. If you look them up, I think it's info@Emmys.com. Send them a note.
Got it. Will do. I'm on it right now.
Ryan.
In terms of the podcast, do you think... Oh, no.
Go ahead.
That's it.
So let's take a step back quick. So Ryan, how did you and Sean link up, and whose idea was it to do the dinner with racers thing?
Ryan.
Yeah, we've talked about it quite a bit, but we knew each other through his Frank Williams internship and decided to come together basically through discussions with Andy Lally and Spencer Pompelli and a couple of our other friends that worked at Williams F1 at the time, like Shannon Davis, and decided that we would put this idea together. But the original idea was, let's do something based on TV and let's try to, come up with a decent way of giving fans the internal look at what it's like to hang out and have dinner with your friends in racing. And then immediately Sean was smart enough to say, look, where does that live? How do you produce it? Who's going to pay for it? And we're a bunch of dumb drivers. So we're like, well, you do it. And of course he was like, great, thanks. Thanks a lot. And so
Exploitable.
Exploitable talent.
Right.
Skill was something they could exploit.
And so eventually we started discussing podcasts, and we were fans of a couple different shows that had long formatted interviews. And so we just kind of came up with the idea together. And it was something that started at dinners that we would have at racetracks, because you don't get to see your friends when they live in other parts of the country as much. So you get together on race weekends if you have a free night. And so we would traditionally, myself, Heckman, Lally, Pompelli, and a few others, we'd get together and talk about just, whatever. And we still do this, by the way. And we kind of came up with the idea as a group, but Sean and I were the only two that kept talking about it. We'd see each other in the paddock at a race and just be like, oh, yeah, what about this? Or what about that? And we just keep spitballing. And then eventually we both had mutual contacts at Continental Tire. And so they were really big on sponsoring sports car racing at the time. And I think I was the only driver really utilizing that branding that they were putting into it. And it was pretty simple because they had already offered for me to go do a bunch of little social media projects with them. So when we said, hey, we'd like to do this, they were like, yeah, no problem. And we made the biggest mistake you can possibly make, which is proposing for not enough money. So point being, always ask for like 5 times what you need.
Yeah,
let them talk you down.
Right.
Yeah, we went the number and they went, yeah.
And we were like, ooh, oh,
yeah, oops.
Oh,
whoops.
oh.
And at that point, you can't go back and be like, well, no, what we mean is.
Yeah. Well, you can in racing, but we always have had the color orange, not blue.
Yeah. So that's how it kind of began. And then through my job with Acura and Honda, we were able to get vehicles from them for the project. So it's just been a dream come true ever since.
So, did you guys have any expectations of like this is going to garner this many listens, or like how has the feedback been for you guys? After the first season and now I think you're 5 road trips or 5 seasons deep.
This is actually year 6. It's kind of a weird year, but it is year 6, which is insane. So as far as the expectation or reaction, I would say it's an insight into the psychology of Ryan versus me. Why do I say that, Ryan? Good answer.
Actually, I didn't hear what you said. It totally cut out. But the whole thing was the original response that I had when we decided we were going to do this. I thought, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be awesome because I knew Sean's talent was going to be easily able to exploit, as always, and that we had enough good people that were interested in listening to what we had to pitch them on being guests that I was like, oh, this is going to go great. And Sean was like, hey, not for nothing, but I worked in Hollywood for all these years, and I've seen amazing talent with proper production companies and budget go to put out a product and it just fails, and it's surprising. You think about all the shows that you like that only did 1 season, you're like, I don't get it, and that's just how it is sometimes. So he's like, so I know you're thinking this is going to be great, but you have to be prepared that this could totally be a one and done failure that we look like idiots on. And I was like, oh, okay.
And I was never worried about the product per se. It wasn't an issue of product, but especially working on the PR and marketing side of the sport, I lived in a different world as far as where I felt numbers really were and how big was this audience base going to be and things like that. And so I was always very skeptical that this would really pull numbers.
Yeah, so then we decided to go on a 30-day road trip after he deflated my hopes like that. I was like, oh, cool. I guess we'll drive to New Orleans today.
So let's drive for 17 hours a day.
So was the road trip thing in like a part of the plan from the beginning, or is that just because of commitments due to racing? Like, this is the time we can squeeze it in. This is how it kind of has to be done.
Well,
kind of even today. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the reality is that the only way you can get the amount of people that we need to get and within their schedules, because I mean, we try to go after as interesting people as possible, and they're generally busy. And the budget that it would take to just fly for a little bit here, a little bit there, it's through the roof. And so to do this the way we do it, we need the scheduling time of like the off season because of both of our other commitments. But B, like if you just tried to fly around, stay in a hotel for a week at one place, it adds up pretty quickly. And the kind of budget that people think we have is nowhere near the budget we really started out with. So I think the misconception is, look how great this is. I bet I could do that if I had that kind of budget. And the reality is that Sean and I have shared hotel rooms for 6 years of doing this.
Yeah. Goddamn glamour.
Yeah. We eat through a lot of drive-through windows. So yeah.
So I'm been dominating this so far, so I'll let the other guys cut in here in a second. But my one follow-up question to that is, when you're done with your road trip, like how long is it before you text or call one another again? Like how much time away do you need from one another? Because I spend a weekend camping with these two idiots that I'm with, and like I just need a break.
This is the best question I've ever been asked.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't even know how to answer that one.
That's going on the website.
We talk on the next road trip.
Yeah.
we talk on podcasts like this one, and then the next road trip.
Yeah. Right.
That's fair.
It generally is like as soon as the other person is on their plane home or dropped off or whatever it is, it's usually a bit of time passes before we have to talk to each other. Fortunately, we have more going on now with the TV show as well as continuing the podcast, so that we have to talk quite a bit more than we did previously. But I'd say the early days of the podcast, we would get home from the trip like roughly the beginning of November-ish, and then wouldn't speak until the end of the month when Sean would start to put out, things for me to either look at, listen to, or come up with ideas with them on. And honestly, it's mostly because once we're done with the show, I go back to being a race car driver, and Sean starts putting the content together as well as handling his other clients. So right. DWR has become a big part of Sean's business with the media variants, but he still does have other things that they do, and they're really good at it. So he can't just be like, sorry, I got this little thing I'm doing over here as well. So we generally don't talk for a while. Why not any more episodes?
Internet.
I've seen that a lot on your Twitter and Instagram lately.
We have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, this was after we spent months making a Dinner with Racers iRacing League, and we visibly were maybe just traveling for 6 or 7 weeks straight, and yet we hear from the internet pretty quick.
So, okay, again, I hate to keep bogarting this, Andrew and Tristan, but that's a really good transition. So we know how you guys stayed busy during the COVID shutdown with the racing league, the iRacing League, but like Ryan, as someone who actually gets a chance to drive these cars for a living, like, are the sims as real as a lot of people claim they are? Because like for me, who's someone who's never gotten past a go-kart, I love it because I feel like I'm actually doing it. But is it really like that?
It's not really a fair question. Basically, I really like iRacing, and I'll go and use Sean's simulator that he has, and I'll just practice. I'll just do like the testing, whatever, so it doesn't screw up his rating because he's way better at it than I am. And I think the reality is that some people figure it out right away. Some people are really good at video games, so they have that natural transition into doing simulations and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing to take away from it is like, it's competitive as hell, which is what you want in any kind of racing or competition anywhere. And it's hard. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You can't just turn it on and be like, it's easy. Like no matter who you are, you're going to have to work at it really hard. And so that makes it enjoyable, and that makes it, something you have to respect. I think where it loses interest for some people is that when they struggle with it, that's like, well, why would you keep putting the time in if it's not something that you're really enjoying because it's become a job? And what I saw, and this is true with a lot of pro racers during the shutdown, they were spending so much time testing for these leagues to try to be good at it that it took the fun out of it for them. So like literally, like I don't even want, like I text a good friend of mine, Scott Andrews, who's been really good in esports. Like he's been winning like the WC races and stuff. He's just all over the place. He's doing awesome with it. And I text him, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm playing Call of Duty. I couldn't stand to play racing anymore. It's just like not fun. So, so I think that's part of it. But like it becomes a stigma of like, well, is real racing better or worse than iRacing? It's like just two different things. You don't have to take either of them that seriously if it doesn't affect you, but it's easy for the internet to get fired up and make it, kind of become not so much fun. Our biggest problem is that we created a league that was supposed to be stupid, and we'd have people complaining about not getting in the main race, like it makes a difference, or because we ran a couple and things like that. And what the bigger problem for Sean was that he loves it playing iRacing, but he lost all his time to do it and his interest because he was putting up with our shit. So
I was admitting our league and not actually goddamn driving.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think that league was a seriously impressive undertaking. It seemed like, obviously, was more wisdom rather than luck, but it hit at the right time. It seemed like everyone loved it. It was super popular. And I mean, I can't imagine what that took on the back end.
Oh, it was nothing. What do you mean? I just called up my staff. I was like, hey, staff, let's do this. And they're like, right away, boss. And then we called all of our OEM partners and we got it funded. And and then we looked to other leagues to see how we could rip them off. And, and then we put on a sports car race with only one category about twice a month.
And we made sure that we only used one category so we could alienate a lot of the other people that could have competed. But that's neither here nor there.
Exactly. It's the only way to run.
Is this going to be annual now? Are we going to have Pooper Sebring every year?
So you're wishing COVID every year on people? Is that what
yeah.
No, just expanding the brand.
Pro COVID-19?
Yeah.
No. If you listen to our previous episodes, definitely not.
Well, we had a league last year.
We're only going to...
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I was going to say, we're only going to do it on election years.
That is a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There'll never be another election. What are you talking about? We had a league last year as well called the Continental Cup, which was the same concept, just not as concentrated into a 8-week period. I don't see why we wouldn't do it again.
Yeah,
maybe not as elaborate.
Sure. That's awesome.
I've asked a million questions already, so Tristan and Andrew, you guys take over.
I don't think they want to answer my questions, but
go.
No. We'll redirect.
I want to hear it.
Sorry. Well, I'm curious. I mean, you guys mentioned the perception of your show once or twice. The perception of the budget, the perception of how it's made. Do you think that the legacy of old classic Top Gear kind of interferes with the show that you're trying to make, or do you think it helps?
The fuck? I don't know what that is. No, I'm not. I'm confused. I'm genuinely confused. Are people saying that we're not Top Gear?
No. But I think it's fair to say that show kind of set the bar for this kind of content. I mean, when you look, at least when I look at whether it's stuff made on YouTube or other shows, it's sort of the formula, right? How they told the stories, the way the host interacted. It's that, being serious about the topic, not taking yourselves too seriously. That's kind of a description. And I just wonder if that show and them also being on Amazon kind of gives an idea to people who would watch Dinner with Racers or your fans and, saying it's sort of like the, why is there no more content? What's the deal type thing?
So that is, I'll give you credit because I've never heard that. I don't like. I'm gonna answer this one as straight as I can. I legitimately don't think Top Gear has ever come up when we were plotting an episode. And not in a bad way, because what they do is a great job.
I think
the only thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that kind of that question makes me think like, well, if there was only going to be one real good car show like that, in that realm, you wouldn't see like 75 hot rod shows on Velocity, Discovery, the Learning Channel. You know what I mean? So,
for sure,
yeah. So I think it's enough that it can live anywhere. But I would say that Top Gear not only was one of the most watched television shows on the planet, it also had a massive, massive budget. And if anyone wants to give us a massive, massive budget, we will work Sean to death.
Right, of course. And I was talking less about the practical application of their massive budget and more about sort of does the legacy of that show, does it push you to create your content in a certain way?
No, it doesn't. I mean, this is. I mean, you can't argue with the success of what Top Gear was and continues to try to be. But they're very much a formula of a show. They do it incredibly well. I think if you were to watch the first 6 episodes that we put out, I don't really see a whole lot of that formula transfer over to ours. And if there was one kind of rule that Ryan and I went into the first season with, is that we wanted all 6 episodes to be completely separated from one another, to the point that there's no formula from one episode to another. So I don't know that is necessarily a whole, like, I don't really see Top Gear outside of admiration. I don't really see a whole lot of what they do having a whole lot to do with what we do. The exception being, I think we both want to punch each other.
Yes.
That's a good influence, you know?
It's hard for me to hit a producer because I'm also the producer. But I can definitely find ways to get myself fired.
That's a good brag. Well, I mean, we talked racing. I guess I kind of want to talk a bit at dinner too, because we say on this podcast all the time, and while we haven't been to every track in the world, we've said that Road America has the best track food that you can get at a racing event. Do you think that's accurate, or are we just homers?
Right.
Well, one of the greatest racetrack meals I've ever had was at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, yeah, you're just homers.
Okay. That's fair. I'm totally willing to accept that.
I like that. I like that you guys just let me say that. You're like, okay.
Our podcast is called Dinner with Racers. You can find it on any podcast app. It's also a show on Amazon Prime. We had a fully catered meal at Indianapolis Motor Speedway provided by the Speedway.
Yeah.
And it was exceptional. And it was like food to feed hundreds or just 3 of us. And you're going to have a hard time getting either of us to argue against the quality of food that comes from Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That was the Doug Bowles interview, correct?
He is president of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He did a podcast.
Well, they better have made a good meal for him.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that the chef, and yes, there was a chef with the hat, the whole thing. He was apparently a fan of our show. So when they told him that we were doing this thing with Doug, he was like, "Oh, awesome!" And he didn't it was the basic menu. He didn't like make a crazy thing or whatever, but it was so much food, so well done. And then at the end, he wanted to meet us, and we were like, "Dude, we're never going to forget this for the rest of our lives. We want to meet you." It was awesome. We ate on the yard of bricks, literally. Like the yard of bricks was right past our feet because it was in the bottom of the pagoda on the floor level. It was incredible. But I think you're referring to trackside food. Is that right?
Yeah. If you're a fan and you're going to eat your way around a racetrack, is there a place that rivals Road America? I mean, Tristan, when you and I were at COTA, that was pretty good.
Huh.
Yeah, I'll never forget the bison hot dogs.
I would actually. I mean, all jokes aside, Road America is awesome in so many ways, and their food is pretty killer. But like Wisconsin in general knows how to do a bunch of things right when it comes to beer, cheese, custard, all that stuff. So product of the state being really big into food and growing bigger people, which I'm working on myself.
Shout to that.
Yeah, guilty. That track does a phenomenal job with their catering. I'm actually blanking on other tracks that do a great job with it because so much of it becomes not necessarily locals or like a history of being that way, and it becomes budget related. You go to most tracks and they're ordering food from the same distributor that the other track's ordering from 6 states away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not too far from you guys.
I'm just realizing too that might not be the fairest question for Ryan to answer, because what's your schedule like on a race weekend? Like, how much time do you even get a chance to go out and explore? I mean, I've run into you a few times at Road America, and I think all 3 of us talked to you at Watkins last year in the Pilot Challenge paddock. But like, how often do you actually just get a chance to go out and explore things on a race weekend?
Every weekend. Well, I mean, I should say before this weekend, the most time I got at Elkhart last week was I walked down to turn 1 because that was the only place we could really get because they had us kind of roped off from the rest of the crowds. And I just stood in turn 1 and I watched WeatherTech practice for like half an hour. And I try to do that every weekend just to go watch race cars, sit quietly and enjoy seeing it, But food wise, you don't normally have the kind of time to be like, hey, I'm going to run down and get a gearbox melt, from the concession stand at Road America, because you're literally going from a practice session to a data debrief to a driver's meeting or whatever it is, and maybe doing fan interaction stuff. So you're not stopping to eat at that point. And also most of the times they have our meals catered at the track. Not that it's anything fancy or whatever, but you're probably just going to eat that because it's free and you're a race car driver. So,
Right.
It's free.
yeah.
All right.
Next question. Go.
A question I kind of have to ask, given Andy Lally's performance at Road America. If there was, what trait is it that gives him the ability to perform so well across so many different sports cars? Is it track knowledge? Is it feel for the car? What is it that he does so well? Because from the outside, it's totally mystifying.
It's anger.
Pure anger.
Is it really?
Andrew, have you tried driving race cars then?
No, that's hate, not anger.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Got a lot of that too.
Andy's full-time sports car team, it's a team called Magnus Racing. Magnus put out a lot of content over the years making fun of Andy's desire to know like intervals every lap and stuff like that. That's actually part of his psychology of he needs to like be fired up and mad and like focused on I've got to do X thing. Andy's not driven by a love of cars or a love of car racing. He's driven by a love of beating the shit out of people. And so he has to find something in front of him and he'll go out and beat it every time. That's why Ryan and I are both hoping he's directly behind Earl Bamber at Daytona this weekend.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I would add that for Andy, he didn't grow up with a pile of money. There was nobody there to really, say, hey, you're going to be fine all the way to the pros. And he doesn't, he didn't have like that perfect childhood where it was like straight A's and all that stuff. He'll tell you flat out that he was a bad kid that was skateboarding and causing trouble and, at times running with the wrong people that he shouldn't have been around. And karting is what really kind of got him, let him realize he was good at something that meant something. And so karting helped get him into Formula cars. People saw that he was really talented. And as soon as he had that, okay, I can do this and I can do this well, I'm going to do that. So it's not like he grew up in an awesome home, but he's from Long Island, New York. And in that time period, there's a lot of easy shit to get into. And
Sure.
He literally racing got him to a better lifestyle than he probably would have had otherwise. Not that it would have been terrible. It's just like racing provided him a really awesome life that he could see the world and eat the same food at all these different restaurants. And but he's like Sean said, he's absolutely one of the most competitive people you ever meet in any regard. And he has a natural ability to get into different cars with not a lot of seat time and get the most out of them. And I like when he told me he was doing this deal with the O2 car, I was like, oh, you're gonna be fine. Like I'm actually excited because he always thrives in situations that are kind of a little weird. Like the car's got a banged up suspension piece or it's a team that's last second or it's raining, things like that. He always excels in those interesting situations. And they didn't do any practice or qualifying. And it's like, I think was that the first road course race this year? And he's really good in those cars. So it was like the perfect storm. So when he was running so well, I was like, yeah, of course he is.
I thought it was so interesting because my first encounter with that was seeing him literally jump in a Super Trofeo car at Watkins Glen in 2015. And suddenly it's like, wait, who is this? He was just doing what before this race? And it was so amazing that it was very unexpected. I just had to know a little bit more about kind of what drives him. He's such an interesting figure to watch from the outside.
Yeah.
How do you think? Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
No. I was just going to reiterate kind of what I said. So.
Great.
So how do you spin-off question? How do you think Bamber is going to fare this weekend? Having again NASCAR's no practice, no qualifying, first time sitting in it is going to be race time in a car that's so wildly different than what he's used to.
The driver in me says he's going to be just fine. So much of NASCAR racing is equipment based, and he's in a very good car that's done a ton of testing. Not him necessarily, but that team would absolutely do the maximum amount of testing and different sim work that they can. So it's not like he's getting in the O2 car like Andy did, which is a smaller team. He just got them their best result ever this past weekend. He's getting into a car in a program that's right. one of the best to ever do it, period, let alone in the Xfinity series. So I think he'll be fine. He knows the track really well. It'll take him a little bit of time to get up to it, but that dude is one of the best race car drivers in sports car racing history. And I don't know him super well. Sean and I got to hang out with him a little bit when we did a live show, and we liked him a lot. But just like Andy, that dude is not afraid of anything or anyone. And in fact, when him and Andy have had their discussions off track, he was ready to go. You know what I mean? He's a gamer. So Lally's my boy for life, but like I actively root for Earl Bamber. I think he'll do a pretty damn good job.
It should be fun to see. Andrew, you got anything else on Lally? On anything else you want to know? Because I want to, unless Tristan has some, I want to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
So,
Nick, go.
Thank you, Sean. It's actually directed towards you. Your calling card with Magnus and the press releases have always been, and obviously it's spilled over into the podcast, is, the sarcasm, being a little self-deprecating, making fun of yourself, making fun of other people at times. Like, so is that, like, how tough a sell is that to people when you were first, again, kind of getting going? Like, this is the route we're going to take. There's a lot of high profile representation you're doing in this industry. So
I'm not representing anything high profile in this industry outside of Continental Tire and Valvoline.
Yeah, just a couple small companies.
I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm confused. What is your question?
sorry, what was that?
I'm confused. What is the question? Like, how do I turn Snark into being a sellable product?
So is that a tough sell if you're sitting with a client or a potential client and saying, hey, here's the direction I think we should take with this press release or this campaign?
In the case of Magnus, probably not. Magnus stuff, which is probably what I'm most known for, which I don't know if people who listen to this necessarily know much about Magnus in the past. I'm not involved with them this year, although I do wish nothing but good things. That was very much a collaboration between the team owner, John Potter, and myself. And by pure serendipity, John and I were united years ago, and we have very, very similar sense of humor, not too different from, say, Ryan and I, in the sense that dark souls have a way of tending to find each other. So to an extent, you kind of bring in the company that you want. And so if you put it out there, nothing but a dark, sarcastic aura, those are the people you're going to find yourself surrounded by. It's also why I'm probably never going to get a GM contract. You know what I mean? So it's pretty straightforward. What's funny is even pre-Magnus, for those who knew me, I had a reputation for the kind of stuff that I'm now known for. However, Magnus was really the opportunity for that to really kind of flourish. And as the Magnus stuff continued to, let's say, within its small little world, do well, the unique thing, I don't know if this is answering your question, but the unique thing that I have found as time has gone on, it's probably one of the reasons why I do less and less kind of commercial work within the sport, is that a lot of times people want my badge on something, but they don't actually want me to do it. If that makes any sense. They'll be like, Sean, what's your idea? We'll have Sean do this. And then I do it. And they're like, oh, we didn't want that. And you're like, that's what I
but not that way.
Yeah, we just wanted you to say you were doing something, but we didn't want to actually it's one of the reasons I become less and less interested in working in the sport is there's maybe not as much interest in the kind of stuff I'm known for, which is unfortunate, but that's where we are. So I'm very happy to do like what Ryan and I are doing. Next question, go.
Cool. Next question, go.
Tristan, say something.
All right. So, Nick gave us some nice intel on you guys above and beyond what we had seen. So, kind of, Ryan, you have a reputation of being, in Nick's words, not a yes man robot, and I'm gonna throw you right under the bus there, Nick. Kind of was that kind of what you were talking about, Sean, where the dark souls find each other? Was that kind of open and honest? A lot of fans through social media. When we walked up to you the first time at the track, I think Nick, there was a conversation about BOP changes that year that you guys immediately launched into. And and that open and honest, but not just all positive and sunshine and rainbows. Was that kind of a link between you guys, or is that just
I think
extra?
I think the link is just that we're assholes. I mean, like, I think all of our friends have thought we should hang out even before we did. And I think it's just because I don't know that it had anything to do with necessarily a social media presence or anything like that. We have a lot of, even if Ryan is way more active on social media, we still, I think, have the same values in terms of how fans should be treated on social media, and things like that. But I honestly think that the bridging gap between us, since we were in similar circles, was just the fact that we were kind of dark people. I don't know, Ryan, you may disagree with that.
I think the difference is between me and like some other drivers is that I'll tell you, if a fan asks me how are you going to do this weekend, and I know in this case the BOP is really good, I'll tell you flat out, I think we can win. And I think some people in this sport, no matter drivers, crew chiefs, whatever, will bellyache right away. Well, and I'm like, no, we can win. Like I can win this race today if I have a chance. Like if everything goes to plan. And at the same time, I'll tell you flat out if we're going to be seventh, and it's bullshit. You know what I mean? Because the thing that frustrates me when it comes to stuff like that is I think everybody in the whole paddock is showing up to race to win. So if you're practicing all day long in seventh, you can't go any faster, and you're watching other cars do things poorly but go faster. You're like, well, this isn't what I signed up for. And I'm happy to say that, but I'm not going to say it like in a disrespectful way or a crude way. I'll just tell you, I'll be honest with you. And I think being a genuine person with whatever version of you that is always going to relate to people way more than if you're full of shit, whether you're being positive or negative, And so I try to be I just try to be myself when it comes to all this stuff. And I'm fortunate that partners that I've had, like, Acura, Honda, HPD, Continental, they've totally let me be me. I don't think we've ever really been told like, hey, you can't say that, or hey, we don't appreciate you saying that. In fact, we're doing this Acura Junior Academy right now with we have 4 young drivers that are testing the Acura NSX GT3 car, and it's part of this like program to help bring up drivers. And my bosses at HPD, we had this big conversation about doing classrooms, and I was doing a lot of the classrooms on the first one. We talked about marketing and putting yourself out there and things like that. And one of the things that they wanted me to discuss, they put this down, was that it's okay to stand up for something if you believe in it. And like literally, we're like, you stand up for a lot of different, charities and things that you believe in. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, so if you want to discuss that, I'm like, absolutely, I do. And that I thought was really cool. But I think it's because I've done it the right way. I haven't been too over the top or too in your face about certain things. I've definitely stepped over the line at times, but I've also tried to be as genuine as I can be. And also I understand that just because you don't agree with me, it doesn't make you an asshole. So I shouldn't treat you as one, even though sometimes I have to remind myself of that. So yeah, I think that's part of my, I tell you how it is attitude is like, I'm happy to hear your side of something as long as we're just going to keep having a conversation and not turn into yelling and screaming.
Right. And I think just that being genuine, it goes a long way with a lot of people, right? And where I'm coming from on this is it's like I watch some NASCAR broadcasts, and there are some people in the booth who are just, no matter what they do, this is the greatest thing ever, and they're so innovative, and there's this and that, and it's just, I get tired of hearing that. And then when you get someone, say like one of your former guests, like Kyle Petty, who calls something out as maybe not the best thing, or calls a driver out for something, like he's just being that, he's being genuine. And it's in a world where like there's so many yes people, like it's just refreshing. So I guess I commend you for that, and I commend you both for doing this on the podcast too.
Well, the thing you got to remember, though, is like we live in a corporate back. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay,
Ryan,
cool.
go.
Okay, Ryan going. The thing you got to remember is that motorsports especially, but anything televised, it has backers of all sorts of different corporate levels. So it's one thing to be that guy that's like, no, I'm going to tell you how it is. And it's another thing, the guy that keeps his job for 30 years for towing the company line. And so it's trying to find the middle ground on that. And if you look at, for example, if we're going to discuss NASCAR, you can say that they're dumb rednecks that do all this stuff, but we've been to their shops. We've seen the amazing things they do, and they're not. That might have been the case for a period of time 100 years ago, but those guys literally hire F1 aerodynamicists to come work on their cars and have come up with some of the greatest things I've ever heard of that we can't even talk about on the podcast because we get all sorts of cool intel where people are like, you can't put this on the air, but check this out. And you're like, we just heard something a few months ago that our jaws dropped and we were like, oh my God. And like, you hear that and you're like, these aren't dub rednecks.
Look at the team.
So basically, if you want to keep your job as a NASCAR commentator, it's probably a good idea to promote the company line, but also you can't argue with their numbers. Yes, the fans are leaving, but fans are leaving almost every sport, in motorsports at least. The TV numbers might be down, but they're still better than Indy cars. They're the second most watched type of racing on the planet, as far as I know, at least, definitely in this country. So hate on them all you want, but they are a big business. They are hiring a lot of people. And if I'm doing their NBC sports commentary in 2021, which I'm not, but that's my plug. I'm not going to go shit on them. You know what I mean? But on the same side of that, it happens in all the types of racing that I've watched. And I know you weren't singling out NASCAR, but just an example, I actually had a really in-depth conversation once with the former, still a road racing commentator, but this is when it was Speed TV. And I was like, hey, why is it that you keep saying guys are having a great day when they're running in 12th? Because if I'm running in 12th, I don't want to hear doing a great job running in 12th. Like, as a realist, I want to hear like struggling 12th, not great, hasn't cracked the top 10. There's only 12 or 15 cars. And he was like, because if I go shit on these guys that are trying to do the best they can, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be around too much longer. Like he's like, I hear what you're saying, but you're very inside on the sport. Whereas a casual fan watches and is like, oh yeah, right on. That team's doing 12th. Cool.
You're also a pro.
Yeah, that too.
Well, no. What I mean by that is Ryan's not paying to be here. Mm-hmm. If somebody on NBC or Speed TV formerly is sitting there going, pay driver X is doing terribly, well, that doesn't motivate them to stay in the sport.
Right.
So that is some of the fine line we have to watch. And even at a NASCAR or IndyCar level, there's enough private funding in there now that we do have to be sensitive to the people that are keeping lights on.
Yep.
Super serious racing question here. Very serious, very important.
Go.
Next.
What the hell is a power track?
Any track with long straightaways? Next question.
But okay, so we hear this all the time about Road America.
Next question. I said next question.
Is this your pick?
Fine. What is not what is an example of a non-power track?
Lime Rock Park.
Question. Next question.
All right.
Monaco.
Go on. Road courses or street courses almost everywhere. Keep going.
Go on. Was this your bit?
What?
Is this your bit?
And Andrew has asked a few people this, and he hasn't gotten an answer that he's deemed satisfactory yet.
They actually had an answer, unlike everybody else.
It's like the dog chasing the car and you don't know what to do with it. You ask the question and you get used to getting no answer. When you get a good answer, the bit is over.
Exactly.
On a relative scale, and on that relative scale, power adds up more on some tracks than others. Therefore, they're power tracks. Next question, go.
All right. Who could eat more wings in a sitting, Montoya or Tony Stewart?
I love the thought.
Yeah, the power track one they had an answer for.
Well, that was a stupid question. I got to go Tony Stewart only because he's probably been eating wings his whole life. And I don't know that Montoya is a wing guy at all. He didn't grow up in this country. Wings weren't really a thing, I'm assuming, in Colombia. So, yeah, he probably lived in Monaco for a bunch of years and maybe England. Again, wings probably not the... So, yeah, I'm going to go with Tony Stewart on this. Sean?
Tony Stewart's been on our show. He wins. When I know he's a big fan, when Juan Montoya is listening to this and wonders why we said that, it's because we haven't had him on. So we can gladly reevaluate this topic when Juan Montoya comes on our show.
I can guarantee you Juan Montoya is not listening to this.
We have real guests on. He might, if we add him.
So you have one car for one lap at any track in the world. What car are you driving and where?
I'm assuming this is for Sean.
This is for, you cut out a little bit there, Ryan. This question's for both of you guys.
So it's any car in the world or any track. Is that the bit?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. I say like the current Mercedes F1 car at Talladega on the Oval.
Ooh, okay.
That's spicy.
Well, yeah, because the first part of that answer is what you expect me to say. The second part of the answer is ridiculous.
That's comedy, folks.
Yeah, there it is. Next question. Honestly,
right. I'm gonna throw this one out.
Well, Sean should answer. I'm curious on what his answer is.
Am I driving?
Yeah, you are driving.
Any Honda product on the Kansas Roval.
There it is. There it is.
Or Acura.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, I was told
Tristan,
that
Andrew,
the
say
HPD P2
Go.
All
car.
right, so as a go ahead.
Ryan, go.
Everyone that's driven the P2 HPD car, like Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, all these guys, they claim that car, it's the one that's on iRacing that everybody loves to race. They claim that car is the best race car they've ever driven. It did everything perfect and it would be awesome. So I would say like having a rip around like Road America and that thing would probably be pretty rad. And I've never sat in the thing, so I don't know. But like they claim that thing was awesome. Like turn one at Road Atlanta was flat. Turn one at Sebring was flat. Like that's pretty crazy. So I'd like to drive something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like stupid fast. And the commitment level, because if something goes wrong, that's it.
Yeah, you want to talk about like inch perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. All right, Tristan, you were up.
All right, so being a fan of them myself, Sean, you always have a chicken sandwich.
That's not a joke at all. It's totally real. Next question.
Right. Yep. That's not a joke. There's a question here.
Okay.
Which one was your favorite? Who has the best one?
The closest one to me.
Whichever one, the best camera is the one you have with you. The best chicken sandwich is the one you can reach, right?
Favorite. It's like the ladies.
Whatever's available.
I understand entirely. These guys can corroborate.
Yeah, no, that's Tristan's move too. Classic chicken sandwich anywhere.
Absolutely. Where's yours, Tristan?
My current favorite is actually the spicy chicken sandwich from Culver's, which has the double benefit of actually being the closest restaurant to my house with a chicken sandwich and also delicious.
We've only recently discovered Culver's.
Well, hang on.
No. Hold on.
I've been going to Culver's since I started driving for real time.
Pandering.
Okay.
So don't put words in your mouth is what you're saying, Ryan, because you've had it for a while.
Look, I've been eating Culver's since 2015, so I mean, I'm clearly old school. So the thing about Culver's is that they serve custard and not ice cream, and I'm a huge custard fan. And last year on our road trip doing the TV show, we drove through, I think we were somewhere in Kentucky on the way back from Indy, and like one of the last things that was open was a Culver's, and we went through the drive-through, and it was one of the best fast food meals we'd ever had. Like everything was perfectly packaged, perfectly prepared, and we were like not in a good mood at that point anyway. So it was like, this is the one thing.
Yeah. normally the 11 o'clock or midnight stop at the fast food, like we're just ready for a fight with whoever's on the other side.
Except for at the window.
It's like, are you guys aware of the McDonald's flurry machine conspiracy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a huge thing for us.
We are real mad.
Which reason do you like the most? It's always being cleaned. They just don't want to do it. What's the favorite theory?
The thing is that it's so that as we understand it, it's too hard to clean, so they just don't want to turn it on again because they have to re-clean it if they do that. Now, I'm not saying that that's okay, But I understand that logic. What I don't appreciate is if that's the reason, don't lie to us. Don't say it's broken. Just say,
Tell me, I don't want to make you your flurry.
Yeah, look me in the eye and say you're not worth my time.
Yeah.
So I had I had a very honest drive-through experience late night at a Taco Bell one time.
Oh God!
Oh boy.
This just reminds me. I pulled up to roll down the window to place the order, and the young lady comes across and says, "Hello, welcome to Taco Bell. Just to let you know, we are out of chicken and beef, and our soda machine is broken."
And close. What are you doing?
So I just said 3 steak quesadillas for the car and water, please.
Right. We just recently had a fun run-in with a lady. Yeah. I'll let you.
I knew where you were going with that. No, go ahead. You do it.
So we're in like the middle of nowhere. I can't say where, but not only were we in the state is the middle of nowhere, but we were in the middle of nowhere. And it's getting like that kind of time. And also looking at the map, I'm like, we're driving through nowhere and for the next like 4 hours. So if we don't get something in this little town, it's going to be like gas station food. So we pull into town. The first thing we see that's like definitely open is McDonald's. This is McDonald's, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was a McDonald's. No, was it Burger King? Anyways, so
I was actually thinking it was Burger King, but either way.
I think it was BK Lounge. So we stop at the Burger King, we pull up, and it takes a little while to get like a response on the call box, but there was a guy in front of us that had just driven up and on. So we're sitting there for quite a while, and finally it comes on like, yeah, what would you like? And we order, and they're like, okay, pull around. So we pull around and we pull up to the first window, and we stop, and it's like a ghost town in there. There's no one at the window, and we're sitting there for a while. And the guy in front of us, we never saw where he stopped, but he's at the second window. Yeah. So it's like, I guess we'll just go to the second window after sitting there for a pretty long amount of time.
It was a while. Yeah, it was long enough. I would assume because it's not uncommon, especially late night, for there only to be one working window. So you would it was a long enough time that we were definitely at that assumption point that window was just not staffed. Mm-hmm. Go on.
Yeah. So after sitting there for much longer than normal, we pull up to the next window once the guy left, and the lady like opens the door or the little window and is like not happy, and she's like $17.50 or whatever it was, and I'm like, yeah, here you go, hand her my card, and I'm like smiling and happy because I already sense that there's a problem. And just trying to be friendly here. Like, let's just diffuse this a little bit. A little less spit for this trip would be good. So, I'm like, yeah, here you go, no problem. And she stops and she looks at me and she goes, do you want a receipt from the first window?
Oh, damn.
No, I want a receipt from this window. Make it happen.
So I was like, yes, please. Because I'm leaving this town forever, and this is your next 10 years, which is fine, but you're being rude.
Wow.
Yeah. So then we got our food, and like every interaction after that, like she's very crude, like just sticking the receipt in my face, like, oh, thanks a lot. And they're just like handing us our food. I'm like, great, have a great day. And she's like, yeah. So
you were still that pleasant about your delivery the entire time.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, there's no other way to go.
That's what really gets him mad.
Oh yeah, we were discussing that for like the next hour, that she probably came home from work because she was so mad and was like, you won't believe what this asshole did today at the Burger King. And like her poor roommate, lover, whatever, is like, oh God, what happened? Like, this one idiot in a blue MDX drove past the first window to the second window, and I had to walk 30 seconds from the second window back to the first window to get the receipt. And do you know what he said to me? He said, have a nice day. The balls on this guy.
What an asshole.
Or maybe she was a fan,
and
that just crushed her.
Yeah, she was like, man.
Yeah, they say never meet your heroes.
I thought they'd be thinner.
And now she's check engine for life.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. We've got a new fan.
Well, I mean,
Fans
we're
know
kind of
they
at,
have to choose.
what was that?
Do fans know that they have to choose between you or us?
We haven't told them to, because we've actually promoted you guys on our podcast a few times. We encourage people to go listen to you. So I don't think they know
That's
they have to
why.
choose.
That's why our listenership is what it is. So
They all go,
we promote them, and then they have to leave because they make the choice.
No, see, because you could take the attitude that motorsports media could help each other and maybe help grow the sport, or you could take the attitude that it's us and nobody. You have to choose one, and so I just hope your fans choose wisely.
I think we got a pretty smart group of fans.
I hope so.
Kristen,
They'll
go.
probably make the correct choice. Andrew, you were saying.
I was just going to say, I mean, we're kind of at an hour here. I don't want to take too much more time. But I feel so. We just recently got a little brand redesign courtesy of Styled Aesthetic, and I think you guys know them as well. And the problem is they sent us back black and orange logos. So do we have to feel self-conscious about that?
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
maybe
I think you're going to be hearing. You're probably going to be hearing from our attorney pretty quickly, right, Sean?
Yeah,
Is
once
that
he's
how
out
it
of house
works?
arrest.
Yeah.
So welcome, folks, to one of the last episodes of the Check Engine Podcast.
That's the final. I do love seeing the Dinner with Racers logos on everywhere. I think it's so recognizable, and it's really cool to see that merch all over the place. I don't know. It's inspiring to us as aspiring podcasters anyway.
I think if you look at where we thought this was going to go, and then you see the amount of support we have, it's pretty. We're still both like kind of blown away by it, because we're like we're not that good. Like, why would you? But I drove into Road America this past weekend for the IMSA race or whatever it was a couple weeks ago, and right when I drove in, I saw a guy wearing the No Mill shirt, and I was like, I haven't seen that this year, because I haven't seen fans at a racetrack since Daytona, and we had a ton of fans at Daytona, but it feels like that was 3 years ago, right? So it was kind of like seeing it for the first time again, because it'd been so long, and I was like, man, that's so awesome. And by the rules, I'm not allowed to stop and talk to this guy because we're not supposed to interact with anybody and all that crap. And I was like, ugh. Yeah. So I honked and waved really slowly, and he gave me a thumbs up. And then on the pre-grid, when you drive into Road America, they have that one cool pre-grid that the fans can walk right up alongside. And he was there with his wife or girlfriend or whatever, and also all kitted out. And big thumbs up and everything. And I slowed the race car down and waved, because it's like, how cool is that? The race car slows down for the T-shirt, I thought. And huge big thumbs up, pictures, the whole thing. And it's just like, man, I can't wait until we can do more stuff with fans, because we've had so much support. Like I didn't see this coming, and it's been awesome to see that much love, and to the point where we got involved with Valvoline this year. And when we announced the Valvoline partnership, they got destroyed on social media, just like blown up. Everybody was really giving them a lot of love for supporting us, to the point where one of the guys that does marketing that's not our direct rep came over and was like, "Is this fake? Are they faking people to do this?" And he's like,
"Are you botting?"
Yeah, he's like these numbers
Russian bot farms.
Yeah, they're like, these numbers are really awesome. We got a lot of people showing a lot of love, and he's like, "Nah, dude, like it's pretty cool." So we can't say thanks enough for that, because obviously we wouldn't exist without them. So yeah, I feel like we got it really good.
Yeah.
So for our one or two fans that listen who haven't listened to you guys or don't know where to find you, where can they go to check out all things Dinner with Racers?
They can go to dinnerwithracers.com, which is, of course, where it all lives. But the podcast is pretty much available on all the normal podcast providers. So whatever app you use, just look us up. And then, of course, Amazon Prime is our television series, which there are no new episodes, but we have 6 episodes from last year that are out. and we have 100 and something podcast episodes to listen to. Even the ones from 5 years ago still hold up today. We specifically try not to date them to a specific era of time. And I think that's it for the sale.
And where can they go on social? Where can they find you guys?
Ryan?
What I think we took down our Grinder account.
Damn it.
Because we weren't using it enough. It was like Yep. Once we found each other, we didn't need it. So obviously, you can go on Twitter, which is probably like our biggest, most interactive platform at DWR Show. Dinner with Racers on Facebook, and we don't really use our Instagram account because we don't make enough money to hire someone to do it yet.
Dang.
So, yeah. One more thing, exactly. We have a YouTube channel as well.
Dinner kept getting sad comments.
Yeah, right. No, it's like every time someone asks about
that one from that guy. If the guy who said that he needed a life or friends, I laughed really loud at that comment.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel as well that all the iRacing events that we put on this year live, as well as a bunch of other PR stuff we've done and little video content pieces to promote certain series and things like that. So YouTube, Dinner with Racers. But yeah, that's we're all the places you normally would be.
Cool. So you mentioned already, Ryan, like Daytona felt like it was so long ago. It's been a really just fucked up year. So what is next for you guys in terms of the podcast? Your show is obviously based on sitting down to dinner with people. Is it going to be like video dinner calls, or how are you guys? What's your next step here?
That's a great question.
Yeah, we've been working on a lot of different ideas and ways that we can create content within the current, situation that's going on. I think we've been pretty adamant on doing it the right way. And one thing we'll always revert back to, which is one of our staples in our DWR Bible, is we're not going to do it unless we can do it our way and do it to the levels that Sean has dictated. So we're not just going to start putting out crap because, it's easier because of this downtime. So we're still going to try to maintain a high level of quality, but also the kind of humor and interesting things that we normally come up with. So I think our fans down the road, our product that we're going to put out is still going to be just as good.
Excellent. And then real quick to you again, Ryan, VIR coming up next. In the LA Honda World Civic TCR with Taylor Hagler. You said it before. You're going to be honest. What kind of shot do you guys think you have going into VIR and finishing out the IMSA season?
Jesus, man, it's been a shitty year. We've had 2 tire failures not related to the team or the car that are kind of a big problem. We saw it last year with the same tire and weirdly didn't fix itself over the offseason. So first,
was that at Watkins?
Watkins, Lime Rock. We had there was multiple issues throughout the season where we had issues, and throughout the season they started adjusting the amount of camber, the amount of toe pressure, all these things, and it just became a bit of a problem. It sounds like there's going to be a new tire compound coming soon that'll hopefully fix this problem, but it's been a bit of an issue. The Road America race, I thought we were actually going to be pretty strong, and I was looking forward to hopefully getting on the podium with Taylor. But we had a electrical issue that was really strange. Actually, we're not really sure how it happened, but basically something hit the wiring harness to the turbo actuator and cut it, which I haven't seen in 3 years of racing this car. No one else has either on the planet, so that was weird. But if the car runs as well as it did at VIR, we should be able to finish directly behind all of the Hondais that keep winning all the races by leaps and bounds.
I didn't
Racing
hear that.
for fifth.
Ryan, I didn't hear that. Can you say that one more time?
No, if everything goes to plan, team executes, drivers execute, and everything is perfect, myself and my teammates should finish right behind all the Hondais.
I didn't hear. Could you say that one more time?
Right behind all the factory Hondais. Sorry, I make sure I wrote factory in there too. But only if it's not just BOP, but it's also a fuel mileage race. Because when one car can go 10 minutes longer than every other car in the field, that's also the fastest car in the field. It begs the question: what am I doing with my life?
Oh God. I have always wondered how the BOP mentally affects racers, and I think you've answered that handily.
Oh, it's been eye-opening, especially back to like the TLX days when we had a car that clearly wasn't designed based on the current rule set, but the series really wanted it to be there in theory, or at least they said that a lot. And then we would have the best open wheel engineers on the planet, like in North America at HPD, doing simulation work on the rule set that they've been given 6 weeks in advance. And then they would come back with a simulation and go, hey, you're going to be 17th on the grid at this next race based on what we got here. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So don't try to kill myself because it's going to be 17th. Got it. Thanks. And then we'd weirdly be 17th on the grid. And it's like, I don't know. Like that would be the series response. And you're like, well, our guys did. They told you 6 weeks ago in an email. So it's eye-opening when you deal with it on that level. But then when it's supposed to be in like a series that's globally really competitive and you have all these like successful races in one series with one kind of car that then it goes to another series and it can't do so well. I think the thing to remember at the end of the day is that in this particular case, Hyundai and Brian Herter Racing are doing exactly what they should be doing, which is kicking ass and taking names. It's then in the series or, whoever's doing the BOP's best interest to then make sure that all the Honda teams don't leave because it's completely not possible to be successful. So kudos to the team doing the job they're doing, but also how far off could we be to begin with for teams to dominate to that level? And it wasn't just the TCR class. If you look at the car that won in GS, it was extremely, extremely competitive in certain ways. And if you look at the GTD class for the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty eye-opening how one car could be so good and that they couldn't see this coming. So definitely a hard job to do, but also like if everybody on the inside from all the manufacturers is like, well, yeah, that was going to happen. Why wouldn't it happen? Then why isn't other people saying the same thing?
Do you think specifically with like newer cars, so like the Veloster N is the second year, maybe third year, you see it with the new CA Corvette and GTLM. It seems like a newer car does really well out of the gate. Is it because of they just don't have a lot of data to fall back on, or like is there some sort of underlying marketing ploy in there as well? It's just something I wonder. Something that Andrew actually brought up too once.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the most common theme that you hear from fans that aren't there every weekend saying like, well, why is that car so good? This was not so good. But what I will say is like right now, the Audi in TCR is the oldest car by far, and it tends to be the fastest car in a straight line. And it's not the slowest car through the corners. It's not the fastest either. But Audi's not putting anything into TCR, and that car is a rocket ship. Also have the Alpha in my class, which is by far it's the only one I think in the country right now, it seems like. But also like Alpha doesn't put anything into road racing. They're not going to build a DPI car tomorrow that would make you want to think that that's why that car be successful. And that car also has really great BOP. So I honestly don't know what to tell you, because some of these races you see cars that should win finish dead last because the team messes up or they break or whatever. But you're like, yeah, but that car could have won if everything went the right way. It had the fastest lap. It had the best average pace for two drivers, and it didn't win. And then nothing happens to it because it finished last. You're like, well, that doesn't mean it's not competitive.
Hey, Ryan, it's Sean.
Yeah, Sean. Ryan, Sean, go.
Hey, Ryan,
go.
It's Sean here.
Go.
How many alphas are there again?
Go.
How many alphas are there? How many alphas are there?
I believe there's one.
Alphas?
Yeah, one.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
One alpha.
I didn't hear you say that one time. There's one alpha? Is that what you said? Could you confirm that?
Like our show, there's one alpha.
Uh-huh.
Sips bourbon slowly.
All right.
Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good a time as any to kind of.
I don't want to end on that note. I don't think it's good to crap on the series that we're in. So if we could celebrate a couple of things, like for example, the GTD category, which is by design a Pro-Am category. It's a category made for private teams, private individuals racing with co-drivers. I applaud that it is what it is right now. The fact that certain cars seem to win all the time with driver lineups the way they are is definitely unique. But I applaud that they've the opportunities that they have for a lot of amateur drivers that are currently winning.
Well, that sounds like a perfect way to end. Very well said, Sean.
Yeah. But there's
warm, fuzzy feeling to take us out.
Applaud that we're saying some people's money doesn't matter as much as certain manufacturers. Because I know that a guy like John Potter has been in the sport paying his bills on time since 2010, but
all right, I like that.
So
I like the honesty.
I love the honesty. So we have obviously taken up a lot of your time here, and we really appreciate you guys doing this for us or doing this with us. We can't thank you enough. We wish you all the success, Ryan, both on the racetrack, both of you with the podcast going forward. Again, thank you so much, guys. Really.
Absolutely. We appreciate coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
So, folks, that wraps up the Dinner with Racers edition of the Check Engine podcast. Thanks for sticking with us today. We appreciate you listening, but we don't just want you to listen. We want to interact with you. You can find us online at checkenginepodcast.com or all over the socials. Facebook, search Check Engine Podcast. Twitter and Instagram are both at Check Engine Pod because our name is too long. So reach out to us there, like, subscribe, send us, interact with us. Let us know what you like, what you don't. We cannot wait to talk to you guys again. But until then, take care.